I'm Steve Ford, structural engineer from Oklahoma City. I graduated from Oklahoma State University in the Architectural Engineering School in 1970. Then pursued a master's and a PhD work at the University of Texas at Austin. Received my PhD in 1977. So I grew up in Lawton, Oklahoma, and attended Lawton High School. And actually, my initial passion for engineering actually started in my home. My dad actually graduated from Oklahoma A&M with a degree in architecture. He was, at that point in time, an architect, a contractor, and an engineer. Our home and the dinner table involved lots of discussions about engineering. I actually worked for construction for him one summer after high school. After my freshman year at Oklahoma State, Dad actually took me and introduced me to one of his structural engineering friends in Lawton, and I ultimately worked for him every summer thereafter until I graduated from Oklahoma State in 1970. Actually, I was introduced to my wife during my summer internship when I was in Lawton working for a structural engineering in the summer. That marriage has led to 2 girls and 4 grandchildren. Yeah, you just can't put those relationships into words. Those by far the greatest impact on my life. At OSU, actually, I was pretty well set on what I was going to do academically. I was one of these blessed students that actually from a junior in high school, I knew that I was interested in engineering. Our junior year, all architects and architectural engineers at that time took the same first structural engineering course. And after that course, ArcEs took a second course called Indeterminate Structures. And that course was going to be very, very small, and there was a danger that it actually wouldn't be taught because of a lack of students. So I actually went and chased down Bob Zoll, talked him into actually taking this second course, although it wasn't required for him because he was pursuing an architectural design degree at that time. Little did I know, and little did he know, that actually would result in a total change of career path for Bob, and that ultimately in 1980 that he and I would start a structural engineering business together. One of the things that was absolutely life-changing for me that occurred at OSU was the structural courses that I took from Louis Bass, who was the primary architectural engineering structures professor at that point in time. More importantly, almost than his classes, was that Bob Zoll and I were actually invited to work in his consulting office that was located off campus. Professor Bass was actually an expert in long-span structures, and he had been retained to do a peer review of the old Texas Stadium roof that was under construction. And so he asked Bob and I if we would come help him in his consulting office. And that ultimately resulted in also working on the Louisiana Superdome roof and also another long-span structure. Effectively, Bob and I were involved in basically a structural immersion course during our days at OSU. Between what we were doing on campus and off campus, we were basically living structural engineering 24 hours a day. After graduating from Oklahoma State, and then I attended graduate school at the University of Texas at Austin. After that, I actually went and was an assistant professor at the University of Oklahoma in their structural engineering area. After that, I left there, went to a large consulting firm in Dallas for a short period of time. At that point in time, Bob Zoll called me, reminded me that it had been 10 years since we'd been working together, and didn't he think it was about time that we should get together and do something. And so that ultimately led to the formation of Zoll Ford Structural Consultants, which got incorporated, and then ultimately about 2018 evolved into ZFI. At this time, I still work for the firm part-time. The joke in the firm is that when I got out of the ownership, I went in and talked to John Bocox, the man that replaced me in the leadership, and I said, you know, John, if it's technically interesting, I'm in town, You all want help, need help, makes sense for you, be glad to help. Otherwise, go fly, you know. Well, every time the phone rings, John comes running in and says, "You will not believe how technically interesting this is." Okay, come on back in here. Okay, so I work for them part-time when it makes sense for them and the skill sets fit. The Zoll Ford firm, and is now ZFI, was certainly unique at the time that we started the firm. My research background, I came out of laboratory experience at the University of Texas at Austin. And so my research background, Bob's personality, willingness to get involved in projects that were not just classic new straight design projects or renovation projects, but to look at structures that potentially had some problems. People wanted to make sure that they didn't have problems. That kind of led us to a unique type of firm where we certainly design the structural systems for new large buildings, commercial buildings, but we also have done a large amount of investigative type engineering, of looking at structural failures, what we call strength failures, serviceability failures, where things may be perceived as deflecting too much, corroding, vibrating too much. The firm has done a lot of investigative type engineering as well as design of new large structures. Outside of engineering, the hobbies and the passions are certainly international travel. And we've been fortunate to travel literally all over this world. We've been very, very fortunate to travel with a group of friends from church. And so international travel, travel actually within the U.S., a little bit of reading, a little bit of golf, but grandchildren may top the list. Anything that involves grandchildren is a good thing. You know, I've searched for words ever since the dean called me and told me that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then said that I was going to receive the Loman Medal. And I actually thought that I misunderstood him. I couldn't believe that. I know some of the people that are on that list that have received the Loman Medal over the years. So unbelievably honored. Okay, there's just really no words for me to describe how unbelievably honored I feel about receiving the Loman Medal and being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Go Pokes!